you're never going to see a commercial for like Apple, Kale, or, anything.
Why
like
not?
that. Well, it doesn't make any money. And, anything from nature, unfortunately, is like you can't patent it. It's nature. But if I take something and put it in pill form and call it blase, that'll save your life, now I can patent that and I can make money from that.
Correct.
So you're never going to see an actual commercial for anything that is truly healthy for you.
There's a long list of chemicals and additives that are allowed in the U.S., but are banned in Europe and other places over health concerns.
And the additives are reported to cause things like memory loss and hyperactivity in children.
A local beverage packaging company improperly dumped red food-grade dye into the sewer system.
What are artificial food dyes? Artificial food dyes are synthetic, chemically engineered petroleum pigments that provide various food and beverages with vibrant colors. Yes, the same petroleum that is made from crude oil that also makes gasoline and paves the highways.
In our kitchens, there is an invisible man, Mr. Cargill. You don't know it, but he's there from breakfast and through the day. He's the one who buys the grains found in our bread. He's also the one who transports the fat needed in our margarine. He also produced the glucose found in our jam and the ingredients in our baby's milk. Today, Chris announces an industrial farming system in which Cargill makes all the rules.
Not only did Cargill tell you, they would give you an indication of what size facility they would like for you to build. They had total control over the equipment and everything that you put in, the number of waters and feeders and brooders, etc. They dictated all of that.
According to him, Cargill representatives supervised his breeding down to the smallest detail.
They actually had an individual that we call the service person that would come out to your farm, and if they decided that there was a problem, death, loss, or illness, they would dictate what medicine you should use and when you could use it. And you were not allowed to buy feed or medicine from outside of that. You were locked in.
Listen up, y'all. How on earth has Cargill been ruling the agricultural supply chain game for over a century? Imagine a company so old it could have been serving up snacks at the Treaty of Versailles. Yep, we're talking about Cargill, the heavyweight champ of the agri-food industry. So what's their secret sauce? Or should I say secret grain? Oh, honey, let me spill the tea on why Cargill's name is always on everyone's lips. It ain't just a big company. It's a straight-up behemoth, the Goliath of private businesses in the USA.
What is Cargill?
We're basically a food company. We're in 70 countries around the world. So that's who we are.
Their revenue? It's so massive, it dwarfs the combined earnings of the third, fourth, and fifth largest corporations. Let that sink in for a hot minute. Cargill isn't just hanging in there. They're leading the pack and making sure our tummies are happy too. How, you ask? By being the puppet master of the agricultural and food sector with a worldwide network of subsidiaries and affiliates. And don't get it twisted. You might not see the Cargill logo on your food packaging, but trust, they've got their hands on everything you eat before it even hits the store shelves. It's like a fairy godmother with a wand, but this one's all about those dollar bills, ensuring the quality and quantity of your daily munchies. Now, brace yourself, because we're about to dive deep into how the food Cargill sneaks onto your plate is affecting your health. No need to panic, just stay alert. Did you know that Cargill once pulled off an intelligence operation that would make the CIA sweat? Oh yes, boo, it's true. What were they spying on?
Cargill has its own intelligence agency, which operates in secret and is tasked with gathering information on its competitors, customers, and even governments.
Hold tight and maybe leave the lights on, because Cargill's rise ain't no fairy tale. Picture a century-long saga of strategic moves, ruthless takeovers, and slick mergers since 1865, when William Cargill started this empire in Iowa. From humble beginnings as a little grain storage operation in the 1800s, this giant has been on a mission to control every crumb of the food chain from seed to table. Expanding into livestock and poultry, Cargill grew into a massive force shaping agricultural trends. Fast forward to today, and Cargill is a global powerhouse, with its influence stretching across all corners of the food industry. But here's the kicker. Our bodies are silently suffering from the additives and chemicals they pump into our meals to boost taste, texture, and shelf life.
This is a local creek, and if there's one thing we know, it's that creeks should not be red.
The Pennsauken Creek turned blood red. The cause, officials say, a local beverage packaging company improperly dumped red food-grade dye into the sewer system.
It was pretty bizarre, honestly.
Ever wonder why some foods taste too good to be true? Our taste buds might be loving it, but our bodies, not so much. Imagine all the processes your food goes through before landing on your plate. From seeds to fertilizers to packaging, it's a chemical roller coaster behind the scenes. And don't even get me started on preservatives, antioxidants, thickeners, flavorings, and colorings. It's like a wild party for your food before you even get a bite. And guess what? This cocktail of chemicals keeps you hooked on ultra-processed foods.
There's a long list of chemicals and additives that are allowed in the U.S., but are banned in Europe and other places over health concerns.
Some chemicals allowed here have been banned overseas after research has linked them to cancer and developmental or behavioral issues.
Cargill makes sure these foods are everywhere, making life convenient, but at what cost to our health? No wonder Dr. Eris Latham called modern food weaponized.
I know that modern food has been weaponized. And that's why I had to even get out, yes, of the cosmopolitan way of living, the metropolitan way of living, the urban way of living, the big city life. And I'm back in my element.
It's like the food we eat is working against us, y'all. Here's the real tea. The more urban and modern our societies get, the more we drift away from natural food sources. It's getting harder to find real wholesome food in its purest form. Remember that old saying, "You are what you eat"? Well, it's not just about turning into a chocolate bar overnight. It's about how the food you eat impacts your health and well-being. You gotta know that these chemically processed foods are no joke. We're talking cancer, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and a whole lot more.
Reason number one processed foods are so dangerous because all of the nutrients have been ripped out of it. And then they'll have these lists of maybe vitamins or minerals or what have you. It's important you know those vitamins and minerals are unnatural, they're synthetic. And the reason why it's had to be enriched is because it was made poor through the processing so that it would last a long time on the shelf. And they do that by adding a whole list and litany of chemicals, which is why fast foods are so dangerous, is because they are chemical soup. When you look at the label, you can't even pronounce half of the names because they're chemistry. So if you are a chemistry major, then you would know exactly what many of those names mean.
Do you know that these nasty non-communicable diseases claim about 41 million lives every year? That's a whopping 74% of all deaths globally. Cargill, being the big player in the food game, outshines its rivals by keeping its grains and seeds super fresh. But how do they do it? With a mix of natural and chemical methods. It's like choosing between the easy, fast route and the slow, hard way. With all that grain and seed, you already know they're taking the quicker path. Just imagine if all those grains and seeds are soaked in pesticides. That's a major health crisis waiting to happen. Dr. Sebi was spot on when he said our food comes straight from labs.
There were no tofu, there were no soy there were no cows, and there were no hogs, no chicken. There were no flour. Those things didn't come from Africa. You see rice and beans and flour and cheese and meat and the starch that you eat, they all came from right here, from a laboratory. For us to eat, you have to have in your big skull the understanding of biochemistry.
And don't get it twisted. Our beloved meats like bacon, hot dogs, sausages, and even that famous boxed beef from Cargill, they're all ultra-processed too. Loaded with chemicals like nitrates and sodium phosphate to keep them fresh and juicy, these meats are linked to serious health issues like cancer. And then there's trans fat, the villain lurking in your favorite snacks and pastries. Created by adding hydrogen to vegetable oils to extend shelf life, trans fat is a silent killer.
There was a time ago that trans fats were banned in the US, and they definitely are banned in other countries, but they still are in our food supply here in the US, despite that. They're in vegetable oils, they're in processed foods, especially. They're in baked goods, they're in crackers, they're in donuts. These trans fats are very toxic to the body, they're toxic to the blood vessels, and they're toxic to the brain.
Artificial sweeteners, anyone? Sure, they're sugar-free, but they're packed with artificial drama. Companies like Cargill use aspartame to whip up that fake sugar. Aspartame might promise 0 calories, but it sure brings a truckload of problems. It's made of aspartic acid, phenylalanine, and methanol, 3 types of trouble. Not only can it mess with your nervous system and brain, but it's also linked to breast cancer, one of the major health threats out there. Now, listen to Chris Beats Cancer when he says aspartame can fuel cancer with its sugar, fatty acid, or amino acid.
The diet that is causing cancer is the Western diet, the American diet. And that's a diet that's really high in meat and dairy. It's really high in processed food, junk food, fast food, sugar, salt, and oils.
It's like a recipe for disaster. All those irresistible snacks from Cargill, like mouth-watering burgers, pizza, deli treats, bread, and pasta, they're all made with white flour. And guess what? When this white flour hits your system, it's trouble because of the extensive processing and refining it goes through. No surprise it messes with your insulin resistance. Hold on to your seats, because here's the shocker. The US allows over 1,000 chemicals and additives in food. Yeah, I know, it's scary. They're supposed to be used in limited quantities, but do companies really stick to the rules? There's some hope, though. California's legislature is stepping up with a bill to ban dangerous food additives like potassium bromate, brominated vegetable oil, propylparaben, red dye, and titanium dioxide.
You look around the world and you see what other countries are doing to protect their consumers. We are far behind.
CBS News has obtained a copy of proposed legislation in California that would make it the first U.S. state to ban 5 common chemicals, including potassium bromate, from all foods sold, distributed, or made there.
If they're getting banned, it's because they're seriously bad for our health. One of the big bad wolves in this chemical jungle is monosodium glutamate, or MSG. This sneaky additive is in most ultra-processed foods, making them taste irresistible. But honey, once it's done tickling your taste buds, it starts stirring up all sorts of diseases in your body. It's like saying hello to flavor and goodbye to health. And let's talk about food coloring. The thing that makes cakes, drinks, juices, pastries, chocolates, cookies, and cereals look so darn pretty. But have you ever stopped to wonder what those vibrant colors are made from? They ain't gifts from the rainbow, boo. They're chemical cocktails. The Journal of Pediatrics spilled the beans that the use of food coloring in the US has jumped 5 times, leading to worse ADHD symptoms in kids. And adults? Don't think y'all are off the hook. Are we really supposed to trust these companies to use chemicals responsibly? Doubt it, because they're more about that profit than our health. But Dr. Robert Morse dropped some knowledge in an interview. He said we need to wake up and realize the importance of what we put in our bodies.
The first thing it takes is a change in your consciousness, a change in the individual's awareness to one where they respect themselves a little more and they want to get well. They really want to enter the realm of wellness and health, whatever it is, and they're willing to let go of preconceived ideas and things they were taught that was crap, not true, and that they're willing to take on a new journey.
There's a shift happening, a new awareness, and it's high time we take control of our health. Now's the moment to ditch those processed foods and embrace whole, nutrient-rich foods in their natural state. These natural foods will truly nourish our bodies and help fend off diseases. With all the harm hidden in ultra-processed foods, we gotta ask, is the world really thriving, or are we on the brink of collapse? It's ironic that Cargill's motto sounds noble, right? But with all the potential harm in these foods, is the world thriving or just surviving? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with a friend. Let's all aim to be truly healthy.
Bà con Bạc Liêu liên hệ chúng tôi đặt hàng liền nhé.